Good morning, everyone, and happy Monday. I hope that you're going to have an amazing day today. And it's starting off right if you're joining us on the First Time Storytelling broadcast. Today, my guest on the First Time Storytelling broadcast is Mark Labriola. Mark is the founder of Brand Viva Media, a digital content and marketing agency. Prior to starting his business, Mark worked as a musician. He's also a foodie and father of three. Mark is here to share the story of his first time auditioning for American Idol. Welcome to the show, Mark.
How's it going?
So happy to have
Good.
you.
I am happy to be here. It's Monday. It's the best day of the week, and we have a lot of opportunity ahead of us. So,
Oh, I
thanks for
love
having me.
that. That's a great way of looking at a Monday. It's nothing but opportunities ahead of us.
That's right.
All right, Mark, let's get into this. Let's start out with how did you find out that you're musically talented in your interests in music?
Yeah. Well, it started when I was very young. I remember my both my parents when they were together, they met. They were hippies in Florida, and they were both musicians. My mother was a singer. My dad was a guitar player and songwriter. Um, and so I was always exposed to a lot of music when I was young. But I think the very first time that I ever knew that I had some sort of ability was when I was 10 years old. There was this kids choir, and I had just moved in with my dad. And he, said, "Hey, you should audition for this kids choir." And so I said, "Okay, I'll try out." So I go to the audition, and then the choir director was like, "Hey, we have this big show next Saturday, but the only way that you can be in it is if you learn, these three songs by memory. Then we can have you a part of the choir, experience." And so I said, okay. So he gave me a little cassette tape, with the three songs on it. And the whole week I just listened to the tape over and over and over, like put myself to sleep to it, so I could remember all the words and all this stuff. And then that Friday, we got back together and he had me sing, perform all the songs for him.
By
And
yourself?
yeah, by myself, because before I could be a part of the, choir thing, I
Yeah.
had to prove to him that I could sing these songs. And so I performed all the songs by myself. And when I was done, he was like kind of tearing up, and he was like, "Wow." He's like, "You really have something special there." And as a 10-year-old, I was like, "Oh, okay, like I'm just singing these songs." And so that's when I kind of understood that I had this ability to sing above average, as I always like to say. Because we all have a voice inside of us, but whether people want to pay to hear it or not is a different story.
All right.
Um,
So then we're going to fast forward
hmm
to so you auditioned 2009 or was it
Yeah,
2010?
2009. Yeah, well, it's
2009.
2009, 2010 season. Yeah,
Okay.
so
How long had the show been on by then?
I believe it started. I think it was in its like. I was on season 9, so it was like 9 years. Yeah.
Okay. So when did you decide, when did American Idol get on your radar and you decided I'm gonna audition for this?
Well, I remember I think yeah, so when it first came out, maybe it was like 2001 when it first came out. And I remember they actually even had a tryout at the local mall because it was nobody really knew about
Yeah.
it. It wasn't, they weren't doing tryouts in arenas yet. And so I heard of a friend who had gone and done it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I remember seeing the show on, and then thinking to myself, I'd be singing in the shower, like, yeah, I bet I could be on American Idol. And it was always one of those things you'd rehearse in your brain, like, what you would say to Simon or, whoever. And you would sing and think, like, yeah, I got what it takes. And so I think that was the first time I kind of heard about American Idol, and then was every year that this show was on in my mind, I was like, oh, I bet I could do that. I bet I could do that. But for 9 years, the show came and went. And I was actually a musician in a band at the time, so we had a pretty rigorous schedule as far as touring and being on the road. And I always, wasn't available to potentially go to a tryout, but that year that I tried out, I actually the band was breaking up.
Oh,
Yeah. And so at that point I was like, all right, well, this is kind of like my last ditch effort. We had some decent success in the band. I was able to tour and get paid to sing. We had songs. We were a Christian rock band, so we had songs on the radio and released a record that was, sold everywhere in the world, and did a lot of things that I'd always dreamed about doing as a kid. But the Christian music industry is just very small niche market, so not a lot of people know about it or
I have to say though, when I
have
went,
it.
so when I went to my first Christian music concert,
Hmm.
I was pretty blown away by it. I mean, because it was so uplifting, so much energy, great music, and there's a Christian rapper that came out, and I was like, I did not realize that
There's
was a
Christian
thing.
rap. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you've never been to a Christian music concert, it is an experience well worth having, no matter what your faith is,
Yeah.
because of I hadn't never been in such positive, incredible energy. So, anyways, carry on.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So my dad calls me up. Okay, so he knew the band was breaking up. We were just essentially trying to tour a little bit more and sell some records to kind of pay off our debt, and then we were all going to go our separate ways. And so my dad calls me up and he says, "Hey, American Idol's trying out in Denver at Invesco Field, which at the time was Mile High Stadium, where the Broncos play. It's a huge, massive stadium." And he's like, "You should really go try out for American Idol." I was like, and at this point, I felt, when I was 28 years old, so for American Idol, that's the oldest you can be to try out. Like
Oh,
it's, I
really?
think 16 to 28 is the age range, and otherwise you age out. And so, and I felt I was kind of a little bit burned by the music industry. I was tired, I had a baby and I'd been married for a few years, and I was kind of like, do I want to go wait in line and go sing? I don't think I want to do that, But my dad said, listen, I'll drive up. He was living in Texas at the time. He's like, I'll drive up from Texas. I'll wait with you in line. Like, you just got to try out. And so I was like, listen, if you drive up here, like, I'll entertain your, fantasies, and we'll go stand in line and, see what happens. And so that's what we did. He drove up. We went and stood in line. There was about 12,000 people that tried out here in Colorado. That whole season, I think 128,000 people tried out for American Idol. And the process is really interesting as far as how they get through so many people. Down on the field, they have about I don't know, maybe like 15 or 20 little tents that each have producers in each one of those tents. And then you go in these blocks of 10 people, and you step forward and you sing for like 30 seconds and you step back, and they can churn through a bunch of people really quickly. And so we waited in line and we got in there, and it was hot, and, we got our little wristbands, and, how things happen in real life for reality TV is completely different than
Yeah,
how
how it
they
is.
appear on TV. Uh, and so yeah, so we ended up getting our ticket to try out, and then at that point you just kind of wait. You have to wait until they call your little group of people down on the field, and this is before you get to see the celebrities or get to interact with anybody famous. It's all
Yeah.
just
So,
the
are you
process.
nervous? Are you excited? Or are you still just like, I'm just doing this?
Well,
Or
yeah, I think once we got in there, and Ryan Seacrest, he comes out and he tries to get the crowd hyped up, and there's the camera crews and all those other things there. You really you do start to get a little nervous, and even me as I was a professional, I'd been around a lot of things, and I had played in stadiums and for thousands of people, and there was still this a little bit of nervousness that takes place, because all of a sudden your self-doubt starts to come in, like, maybe I'm not good enough, and maybe I don't have what it takes, or maybe I'm not going to be what they're looking for. And so you start to have a little bit of self-doubt, and a little bit of fear creeps in. And I think that's really what separates people from success and failure, is when those voices start to come into your mind, whether you let them take over or not, whether you believe them or not. And I think the people who succeed are ones who can push through that pain and denounce those voices that are telling them they're not good enough.
so that's
Um,
interesting. So, as those voices were coming in
mhm.
for you, what were you doing? What were you telling yourself?
Yeah. So one of the things that I've always done is whenever I have a negative thought or a negative feeling, I try to redirect my mind. I think so many times we just think that our thoughts and our feelings are random and they're in control of us. But the truth is that we're in control of our thoughts and our minds. And so, it's a technique I started doing when I was really young at 18. I struggled with depression and I struggled with, a lot of different things. And I noticed that whatever I focus my mind on is where my emotions and feelings went. And so at a young age, I really started to recognize that and then try to redirect my mind and my thoughts to something positive and to something encouraging and uplifting. And even if it's just something simple as like, I believe I can, like a simple word or phrase that you can kind of replace in your mind. Is a kind of a trick that I'd use that it got me through, and helped me to push through those difficult times. So
That is so true and spot on and important to do. Now, how did you select? Were you questioning your music selection? How did you select what song you're going to sing?
well, yeah, so that was another interesting thing because going in, it's like you have all these ideas of like, oh, like I would do this song or this song. But then when you find out you have 30 seconds to impress somebody, like I can't wait till I get to the chorus of this song because if the intro of the song stinks, then they're just going to say, oh, this guy stinks. And they're going to move on. Um, so for me, there was always a few different songs that I always felt that people were like, oh, wow, like you can sing. One of them was "For the Longest Time" by Billy Joel. I don't know if you know that song. It's like an '80s Billy Joel song, "For the Longest Time." And then another song was "This Love" by a band called Maroon 5. So those two songs were kind of like out of the gate. You can just kind of impress people with your vocal skills. Um, and so that's kind of how I decided to choose my songs. And once I was out there on the field and was in my row of people, and you step forward, you sing for 30 seconds, and then you step back, and then they kind of do this, and then they dismiss you. So they say, all right, you're done. But for me, they're like, hey, everyone else leave, you stick around. And so then I was like, uh oh, like, this is something's happening. It's like I don't know what's going on, but I think something's happening here. So they had me step forward again, and then the producer looked at me and she was like, sing something else. And so I was like, okay, sang my other song, and then she's like, okay. She's like, you're going on to the next round. So she like gives me my little ticket that I made it to the next round, and I was like so excited. I'm out there on the stadium, field, and I'm looking up to where I think my dad is, and I like, wave my ticket like I'm going to the next thing. So
And
so
the
that
next thing
was
is in front of the judges.
well, no. So this was
Yeah,
crazy.
okay.
It's about I think we did about like 3 rounds before we even get to the judges. And so essentially what happened was at that point I went and I signed a bunch of documents, and it just got really serious, like from going from the stadium field, you go to the dressing room, the locker rooms, and it's just paperwork. And then they essentially say, all right, come back like 2 weeks, in 2 weeks. And so then you have this 2 weeks to be all nervous and stressful. And once again, like
Oh,
nobody knows about this process really. It's not like something because you signed a lot of like non-disclosures and all this stuff. So there's not a lot of people telling you what's happening after this round. And so it was like, all right, come back in 2 weeks. And then at that point, you may or may not get on and see the celebrity judges. And
are you
so
rethinking your song choices at this point? Are you practicing?
yeah,
What are you
so
doing?
from that point, I'm thinking, all right, well, I don't want I don't want to mess with anything that's good. Like what I sang got me to where I'm at right now. Um, but then there was also this obscure the what I thought was if I make it with the celebrity judges, there's this obscure '80s song by this band called Squeeze, and it was called "Tempted." And so I thought, one is it out of the gate again, it kind of shows your vocal performance that it's a pretty high song to sing, and it's just got a good rhythm to it. And then it's also unique where everyone sings the same songs, and I thought I bet if I chose a song that was a little bit different, I may actually have a better chance of getting in front of the celebrities and potentially getting on the TV show because it's like, oh, let's mix it up and not just have the same song that everyone sings, but let's throw in this guy Mark. So yeah, so for 2 weeks I'm, making a playlist on my iPod of, all the songs I could potentially do and
Sorry, hang on. Did you
yeah.
thank your dad?
Yeah, oh yeah, of course. And so for it was like, hey, like now you're part of this journey. Like it's your fault that we're here. So he just got to be with
Fault.
me. He just got to be with me the whole time. You know?
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So
You're going into the second audition.
yeah, so then we get to the hotel. They have this really nice hotel downtown. Um, you're waiting in line with all the other people who had made it from Colorado. Um, and uh,
Are
and
you
then you
sizing people up or are you
Yeah,
kind
yeah, totally. It's like this guy looks like he might be cool. This girl might like. But the thing I started to realize and what you see there is, uh, they're really trying to build a cast. At the end of the day, I don't necessarily think it's always about like who's the best. It's really about is this person going to be able to sell Coke and Ford and all these other kind of things on a weekly basis. And so you kind of start to notice like, oh hey, look, there's like two buff blonde dudes and two chicks that look like Britney Spears, and there's like all these different kind of things. And one of the things that I kind of knew being in the music industry before is that there was kind of like what was my place,
yeah, I was gonna say.
yeah, like
So
I'm
where
not the tall
who are
blonde hot
you?
dude. But I thought, there's always need for the chubby funny guy. There's always everybody needs that person on their cast. And so I thought that's what I'll play because I kind of, was always that growing up. I was the entertainer, the one who was joking around and just having a good time. Even in high school, I would do silly stuff like jump on the lunchroom table and sing Elvis, and people throwing their rolls at me like "shut up." But I just love just the eyeballs. I love the attention. And so I thought that's the role that I could play. I wouldn't be too serious, and I would go in there and just be the fun, funny guy. And so that's what I did. And so you get into a big room with everybody, and essentially they kind of tell you the rules, and then you go to this room where there's just some random people, 3 4 people sitting at a table, and they're like, sing for us. And so I'm like, all right. So I sing my song, and they're like, okay, you go to the next round. And then you go to the next round, and there's just some people sitting at a table, and they're like, sing for us. And it's like, okay, sing my song. And they're like, all right, you go to the next round. And then you go to the next round, and it was like being on TV. They had all the cameras, the lights, and everything. It was like a set, just like the show, but it was all producers and nobody famous or anything like that. None of the celebrity judges were there. And they're like, all right, tell us your story and sing us a song. And you do that, and everyone's looking at the cameras, looking at you, and they're like talking to each other, whatever. And uh and then and then you leave, and then you go sit in this holding room. So you've had these people looking at you, judging you, and then you're like, okay, did I make it? Like, what's gonna happen? And then I think what they show on my audition on YouTube is me busting out of the door with my yellow ticket. My dad's there, and we're like, hugging each other. And so that was actually from that time where you're sitting in this holding room, and they essentially come back after, a few hours where you're just sitting there with everybody. Everyone's like crying and nervous and all this other kind of things. And then they tell you like, here's your golden ticket. You made it to the celebrity judge round. And then it's just like, oh my gosh, like I can't
Yeah.
believe it.
Did you
And so
chit chat with the others
oh
or
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
because you get put in this room with a bunch of like-minded people. It's there's just a lot of people who you have obviously something in common with. Your entertainers, your singers, musicians, and so it is very like a very uh, fun experience, because you're just around a lot of these like-minded people, and so it's a good time. But then you're always nervous. You're just talking about like, oh, do you think you did the right song? And some people are like, oh, I think I should have done this other one, but I got nervous and I just did my second song instead of my first song, and so it was just fun, and exciting. And so then, when I got announced, they kind of announce everyone's names like, hey, they read your name off a clipboard, and then you get your golden ticket. And it's like everyone else go home. Everyone who got their golden ticket, you got to come back in another week.
Yeah.
But
So how, because you're feeling, are you, I'm just curious, like, are you
yeah,
just focused on all your excitement, or are you aware of like the sadness? Because it's such a mixed emotion roller
yeah,
coaster and all the waiting and all the auditioning. Like, I've never been in that type of environment. I'm just wondering what it's
yeah,
like.
yeah. I mean, I think it's a especially when you get that golden ticket, like that you're gonna be singing in front of the celebrity judges. Um, it's just very emotional, and you're excited because you have all this built up stress essentially, that you're trying to just push through. And when that lever gets released, it's just like this huge relief, like, oh my gosh, okay, this is finally a little bit more um,
Yeah, all
stress
the
that's off
cortisol,
me.
all the cortisol gets overflown by dopamine, and
Yeah, exactly.
you're having a completely different emotions
Yeah,
flowing in, and
yeah,
so you run out to your dad, the crowd disperse, and you have to come back in a week.
yep,
Are you during that week, are you starting to envision what it might be like to be on the show, what it could mean
yeah.
afterwards? Like, where are your thoughts and like your future envisioning going?
Yeah. So it's one of those things where all of a sudden you start creating this scenario in your head, like my whole life has been guided for this very moment, like all the things that I went through in the band, and even some of the difficult things in my childhood, all this stuff has led me to this moment, so that I have the right story, and that I have the skills and abilities, and so you really start building it up, and it becomes just the only thing that you're thinking about and focused on, and especially during that week, it's everybody in your life, like family members and all these people are just you know being like, oh my gosh, like you're so amazing, you're awesome, like you're gonna make it, like you're gonna be on the weekly TV show, and like you're gonna be a millionaire, and you're gonna be famous, and this is gonna be awesome, like, and they build this up, and so yeah, so I was just really excited. I felt confident, and I was just ready for that celebrity round. Um, and so similarly, you get back to the hotel that you were at originally, and the limo pulls up, and all the celebrities get out. Randy, Simon. That year we had Victoria Beckham as one of our celebrity judges, and they kind of walk past the line of the handful of people that made it to that round, and are waving and stuff like that, and you're just like, oh my gosh, it becomes so surreal. Like this is it. Um, and then at that point, you are kind of waiting in line, and then they call your name, and what you see on YouTube is like come out of the curtains, and it's just
Now,
like,
now,
hello.
yeah. So when you yeah, but it's one thing to imagine what it's going to be like, and then walking through, and then being in front, and then in that moment. Because,
Hmm.
and again, I now talking to you, I feel like I know you a little bit better, and I go back to the video, and I think there's definitely like a nervousness there, because
Hmm.
getting your story out, they got confused. And so
Yeah, and
tell
so
us a little
that
bit more about that.
yeah, so that was if you go and watch the tryout, you'll kind of see these questions being asked, and this was very difficult for me because I have a really unique story. When I was 4 years old, my mother kidnapped me, and we were on the run for 6 years. And during that time, my dad was looking for me, um, and then he finally found me in 1991, and I went to go live with him. But then when I was 16 years old, I ran away from home, and I lived in a foster home until I graduated high school. Um, and so I had this very unique, difficult kind of childhood. But then in my early 20s, I started to restore my relationships with my mom and with my dad. And my dad and I became very close. We had a very awesome kind of come to Jesus moment where we sat down and I could kind of confront him on anything that ever hurt me or that I felt was unfair as a kid. And he would give me an answer of like, I'm sorry. I apologize. Or he would give me an explanation like, oh, I was a young single parent and thought I was doing the right thing, you know? And so by the time American Idol happened, I'd kind of restored my relationship with both my parents at that time. And so what they wanted, right, was this. They really wanted the reality TV part of it, the give us the juicy, difficult things, and I really felt like, man, I don't want to throw my parents under the bus because I feel like I've done all this hard work to restore my relationships with them, to forgive them, and to receive healing in my life and move on and not allow those things to hold me back and to cause me pain anymore. And so when Simon was, I could tell like on his sheet, he's like, tell us a little bit about yourself, and I'm like, they wanted me to go into the drama story of I was kidnapped and we were on the run, all these things, and I was like, I like cheese, like here's a little bit about myself. I'm a brie guy.
Yeah, I love that. He did not find that amusing.
No, no, because it's his job, right, to dig out. He wants people to cry. He wants the emotion, the drama to come out. And obviously, when you're going through that process, you're filling out these like bio questionnaires, and they're asking you these really interesting questions about difficult things and hard stuff because they're trying to build a story, right? I mean, they're trying to make reality TV entertaining and something that
Yeah,
35 million people will tune into every
and
week.
you don't want a soundbite to undo all the years of building your
Exactly.
relationship
That's
back up with
right.
your parents and things being interpreted the wrong way. And
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And so, I feel good about it. Now looking back, it's like, okay, could I have maybe like milked this story better? And then would that have got me a better, chance? But, at the end of the day, I feel like I did the right thing. And I think that's what's most important. So I would rather have, done that than not and have
yeah.
that,
And I
regret.
mean, at
So,
the end of the day, it was the singing,
right,
spoke
right.
spoke for itself
Yeah.
because you sang your song, and clearly, you know, they were impressed, and it was a no brainer. Like,
Yeah.
tell us about that.
Yeah. So, it's like you're really nervous. And at that point, it's kind of like, uh, this alternate ego that kicks on, and you hear Beyonce talk about Shasha Fierce, and you have like Clark Kent and Superman, right? You have like these alternate egos. So then it's like your mind goes into this. It's like game time, and now I'm Mark the Entertainer, and I'm not going to allow my nervousness or anything else to get in the way of me just entertaining these, four people here sitting at this desk. And so, I go in, I sing my song, and I knew it was like, oh, I'm just hitting it. My pitch is on, and the song is unique, and I could tell by the judges' reactions that they were kind of taken aback because I think even setting that low expectation of me coming in kind of goofy and being like, hey, and then just really just knocking out of the park, they were just surprised, and then I got a yes from everybody, and then Simon was like, "All right, you're on to the next round." So I made it to Hollywood, and it was just like amazing. And that's where you see me holding my son, and I'm crying, and just so excited, because uh, it's like all that hard work and all that pressure is finally relieved, and then you're just at like peace, like you can't think of anything else but like, oh, I made it.
Yeah. Oh man, do you feel pretty unstoppable at that point? Are you like,
Yeah, I
oh
mean,
boy?
and actually to the point of where we get a little bit of understanding of what's going to happen in Hollywood, and like there's some different rounds there, and there's this group round, and I felt like, all right, I'm a sure in. I'm going to make it past this group round. Let me start thinking about my song that I'm going to do for this, the next solo thing that's going to be the next big thing, where that's before you go on to the live, 20 top 24, make it to the live weekly show. Um, and so, I got a free trip to Hollywood. We were there for like a week and a half, like filming and doing other stuff. Um, and then you start to meet, people, like I said, 128 120,000 people tried out that year, and then maybe less than 200 people made it to Hollywood. And so you just start to meet these people, and then even some people that you met like during your tryouts, they made it, but you didn't know until you got there. And so it was like, oh my gosh, like you made it, like this is so cool. One guy, his name was Casey James. He was one of those tall, blonde, hot dudes with long hair. He had made it, and him and I had actually made a connection when he was out here in Colorado, and and so it was just cool that he was there, and he actually went really far. I think he made it to the top 3 of that season. So it was really cool to see him, every week, and we'd text each other, and he actually did a song, that I had recommended that he do. He did it, for the show and stuff, which was cool. And so then at that point, you're in Hollywood, and it's just you're around all these people with a similar goal, and you're sizing people up. Everyone's kind of showing off, like, oh, I can sing, and you're like, ah, they're not that good. Like, I think I can beat him, and like, and so it's just it's a very fun and a very like surreal experience. There's catered food, and you're walking on the Hollywood Boulevard, and you're looking at the stars, and you're the Chinese Man Theater, and there's just all this amazing
Yeah.
things happening. It's just really cool.
And no matter what happens, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. Like this is incredible. No matter, I mean, obviously you want it to go all the way, but
Yeah.
it sounds like you were focusing on the key of being in the moment and what it was like, and the value that that was offering you.
Yeah, I mean it's a tremendous thing to add to your life bio. Not a lot of people get to have that experience. Um, and then so then it begins. You fly in, you kind of have a day of hanging out and getting to know people, and then like you do some a day of like filming and some other behind the scenes kind of things, and then they start the actual tryouts, and so you're there, but then it's with all the celebrity judges or with all the judges. And then when we were in Hollywood, Ellen DeGeneres was our celebrity judge on that season. So then it's just like you see all these people that you've seen on TV, and there's all these cameras, and then you're sitting in the audience watching them judge other people, and so you just go through this process. And so I had made it through. There was like 2 other rounds before the group round that took place, and so I made it past those 2 rounds, and like I said, at that point, I'm feeling like, all right, like I got this. I'm going to the final round. I know that. Um, and then they try to create this drama. So one is you get into this group where you may not know all the people, and then they keep you up like super late. We were like up, 1, 2 in the morning, and then you're learning a song that you're not very familiar with. Um, and so then all this like it really separates people as far as like who can handle this kind of pressure. um and uh and so the it was we were up late rehearsing, and then the weird thing about it, I think for me, which was the difficult thing, is one is you're singing in a group, so you have to do like these like 5-part harmonies and things like that, and then you have to dance too, like they want you to like throw in dance moves and stuff, and that was I didn't have like a professional training in dance or anything like that. And so there's all these elements that are new and that are just different than what you're used to. Um, and then they wake you up super early the next morning, so that you're exhausted, and you start to see all these groups blowing up, and that's the snippets that they show you on TV of people fighting and crying and stuff like that.
So were
Uh,
you determined that no matter what, you weren't going to fall into those games? Or, like, are
yeah,
you're
and it's even
conscious it's happening? They're
yes,
doing
I'm aware that
when
all this stuff is happening, and it's even funny because there's um, during the airing of the show, I remember we were as a group we were working on a song. We were working on it together, and out of the corner of my eye, I could see that this cameraman was coming around the corner to come film us, and so I just jokingly pretended I was like, "Come on, guys, you're pissing me off. Like, we got to get this right." And then I looked at the camera and was like, "Just kidding," whatever. But then when they air the show, they showed that one clip of me like getting all mad at everybody, and it was just funny how they use that to kind of tell this story and increase the drama. of everything. Um, and so yeah, so we're rehearsing and we're going through all these things. We're waking up the next morning, and then at that point, I knew like I didn't have a real good confidence of the song, and the dancing, all that kind of stuff was just throwing me off. And we went out and we performed our song the best that we could. I forgot some lyrics. Everyone on my group pretty much did a terrible job.
Yeah.
Um,
So are you finding it harder at this point? Because you mentioned earlier, right? So you're the positive self-talk, the reassurance. Are you
mhm.
finding it difficult to tap into that?
Yeah, and I think one of the things is that when now you're relying on other people, and you have other people. I mean, people in my group were like breaking down and crying, and just there's a lot of negativity. Like we're gonna fail, we suck, and then it's like, oh, these external voices telling you that as well. It becomes a lot more difficult, and that yeah, I mean, at that point, it's like I feel like I lost a little bit of confidence in myself, and then having to rely on this group as well made it more difficult, and then yeah, I mean, at that point, we did our song. It was terrible, and um, they chastise you essentially, like, come on, guys, like whatever. And then I think they picked like maybe one person from our group to go on to the next round. And at that point, I was heartbroken, you know. And so I grabbed the mic. They have this like mic, that you can like talk back. So I grabbed the mic and I started crying and I'm like, listen, like please just give me another chance. I'm 28. Like this is it for me. I can't come back next year. Some people in our group are like 16. Some people this was like their fourth or fifth American Idol tryout. And so it was like this is it. Like I can't come back next year. Like just give me another shot. Like let me sing something else or whatever. Um, but Simon is like, Mark, don't beg. It's unbecoming. And it's like, you're out. And they show me bust through
Ah.
the doors. Like I'm crying. I'm like picking up Ryan Seacrest and hugging him, and I got axed. And
But you know what? Good on you. Good on you for grabbing the mic and asking for the other shot, the other chance. Because if you don't ask, you never know.
that's right.
And you have to put yourself out there and
Yes.
create the opportunities. So
Yeah, exactly.
you
Exactly. It's
made it
like,
that far, and yeah. So like
yeah,
I'll beg all day long if it gets
that's right.
me.
That's right. So, so then at that point, you get back to your hotel room later that day and there's like a plane ticket home under your door. It's just like your experience
That's
is over.
yeah.
And so that at that point I thought, this is it. Like I tried, I did my best and that was it. And so I was pretty devastated for I don't know, a few weeks. I was pretty depressed and, I was pretty sad and I felt kind of directionless. But then I just started to, think about just how amazing one the experience was. Out of 120,000 people, I made it into a group of less than 100. You know, um, it's something that I got to add to my life bio. It was an experience that people dream about. It's like everyone says, "Oh, I could do that. I could do that." Well, now I can live a life without regret. I can say, "Hey, I did that. I went to the farthest point that I possibly could, and I gave it my all." And I have no regrets. Like I don't have to look back now. I'm almost a 40-year-old man and be like, well, what if? Like, what
Yeah.
if?
Now it kind of ended up putting music behind you though, because you started shifting gear from there. Can you spend a couple minutes telling us just the shift that you took from that point
Yeah.
and where you are today?
Yeah. So at that point, I was I had been a singer my whole life. And I was like, crap, I have no skills. I've sung my whole life for a living. What am I going to do? I had a baby. I've been married for a few years. And I had a friend who was a photographer. And he was like, hey, man, I need some video for this thing. Do you think you could, do some video?" And I said, "I think so." And this was a little bit before YouTube, so I had to like go to the library and I had to get a book, on video editing and like video production. And so, I get these books and I'm kind of teaching myself. And I think being an artist, I had just an innate ability to kind of see things a little bit differently and, frame things up in a way that I thought was pleasing to me, which then in turn seemed that everyone thought it was unique and cool and liked it. And so then I just started this night hustle. Like nights and weekends, I was, shooting videos and editing videos. During the day, I had gotten a job at Apple because at the point I was like, well, I really like Mac computers, so I got a job working for Apple. And I just, started showing up every day and doing my best. And at Apple, I quickly became pretty successful there, and they sent me off to California to become a certified hardware and software technician, and kind of got my certifications through Apple. And then from there, I actually went to go work at the Remax World headquarters in their IT department because I had these new skills now. And then during the whole time, I was still, nights and weekends shooting video, editing video, getting into photography, just teaching myself, learning and growing. Was doing that. And then in
So hang on,
2014, yeah.
as your life is shifting to all these different new skills that you're learning and these new endeavors, like what how do you then see like your past life to your current life? Are you making connections between the two, other than obviously you're still expressing yourself artistically, but you're
Yeah.
moving on into a new phase? I think a lot of
Yeah.
people sometimes are scared of that, or they feel like if you're moving on, there's a big loss of what you've left behind. But I apologize for not acknowledging the fact that when you left the show, you had the "I have no regrets" feeling,
Hmm.
which I think is one of the things that really does help you move on to anything else you want to do,
Yeah.
because there is no regrets. I did everything that I wanted to with that. You went to exploring these new things. So as you're growing into this new you, are you conscious it's happening? Like, what's going on?
You know, I don't think I was really conscious that it was happening. I think what it was that I was just showing up every day. I was being positive. I was doing my best. I was making the best of every situation. I was working hard, and I was just taking each day as it came. I was being present in the moment and not worrying about tomorrow, not in fear of how things are going to work out. But I was just showing up and make trying to make a difference every day. And I think that's um, really what has brought me to where I'm at today. I look at Brand Viva, we're a growing company. I have, a few employees. I manage 10 contractors. I've worked myself out of all the doing. I'm no longer burning the candle at both ends, shooting and editing and working weekends and all these other kind of things. And now I'm in charge of encouraging employees and helping them become the best versions of themselves. Um, and it's all those just showing up every day and being present in the moment and staying positive has led to this moment that I'm in now. And so that's really the biggest thing that I just want to always encourage people to say, listen, one is don't ever let your past determine what your future is going to be, because there was so many times where I would meet people who would say, well, I had a bad childhood, or I um, grew up underprivileged. But at the end of the day, I could say I had the worst childhood, and I grew up with hardly any privilege whatsoever. But because I made the best of every situation, because I stayed positive and I worked hard, every day was a little bit better than the last, and I was able to continue to stack on that until now. I look like an overnight success, but really it was 12 years of hard work and showing up and doing good work.
Oh, exactly. Yes, it's not it's not a mystery.
Yeah.
It's a solvable puzzle in showing up every day, putting the hard work, doing your best, and grabbing the opportunities that come, and seeing life as it has always more to offer and always more to give, and you just have
Hmm.
to plug into it. So what role does music play in your life now?
Yeah, I mean, now it's one of those things. I'd sing at church from time to time. Um, my kids, they no one has showed an ability to sing or play an instrument yet. So, but they're all interested. My oldest is 12, and he's played the trumpet, the guitar, the recorder. He's experimenting with a lot of different things. My daughter, who's my youngest, she probably shows the most tenacity as far as the entertainer goes, and she may have a voice inside of her, but she's only 7 right now, so we'll find out. But she's definitely got the moves, and she's sassy, and I'll be interested to see how she continues to develop. And so, yeah, I mean, we listen to a lot of music. I love music. It's interesting, I think, especially a lot of entrepreneurs, we consume information, education, reading books, all these other kind of things constantly nonstop, right? We're growing and whatever. We don't really take time to be silent or still. And then the other thing that I found is that music really is inspirational. Like music can really take your mood from being low and down, and instantly it can take you to being excited and motivated. You see those Rocky montages, in the Rocky movies where it's like, these powerful songs, and he's, climbing the side of a mountain and all these other kind of things. It's like music has the power to move us into action. And so more and more I try to listen to music that does that for me. Maybe it's some songs from when you were younger or whatever that is, but create like a get hyped playlist of music that will want to make you go work out, and listen to it and let it motivate you and inspire
Yeah,
you.
I,
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that statement. Music is very powerful, and I love listening to foreign music. Like well, it's the exposure to novelty. So I'm definitely trained to love novelty. So I love
Yeah.
listening. I don't know the words. I don't know what the songs mean, but
Hmm.
the energy and the feelings is in the beat. It's in the voice, even if you don't
Yeah.
understand the words, and it's very powerful. And to once I set up the room one of these days is I want to learn how to play the piano and the guitar. I think learning how to play an instrument has been
Hmm.
something that uh, as a kid I didn't see as a possible thing, but now as an adult you realize you get to decide everything as an adult.
Yeah.
So if I want to learn an instrument, I'm going to learn an instrument. If I want to learn
Yeah.
two, I'm going to learn two. And it's just a matter of making that a priority and something that you want to do, and so you can reap the benefits of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Totally.
well, and not when you're the young. I'm not well the youngest one with I have a step family, but when you're the youngest one, you have to do what you got to do to get the attention. So
That's right.
your daughter
That's
might,
right.
she, the youngest one might get there.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
All right, well let's switch over and let's play the first time lightning round and learn a
Okay.
little bit more about you.
All right.
Okay, so the way it works is it's similar as if you were on the app. So I'm going to give you 10 different first time options. If it's something you've done before, then you say up, or I've done it before. If you're on the app, you would swipe up. If it's something you've never done, not interested, we go left. And if something you've never done and would like to do, we go right to add it to your list.
Okay.
Okay, first one, go antique shopping.
Done it. Yeah.
Done it. Did you buy something your first time? Are you big into antiques?
Well, it's my wife. She's like, I can't get you at a garage sale or an antique because you will just want to buy something. There's something inevitable that I'll see like, ooh, this looks interesting and old, and you can see kind of here I got my knickknacks, and all these other like things. I'm like, oh, this would look good on my shelf. So yeah, antiquing,
Antiquing.
done
Okay.
it.
Ride a donkey.
Would want to do it.
Okay. That's all right. Take a glass blowing class.
I'm not interested.
Oh, really? It's incredible. It's
Really?
amazing.
I've
Yeah.
seen it, but I feel like, oh my God, am I gonna like burn myself or spill some
Well,
magma on me?
that's what actually adds to how amazing it is because there's a sense of danger to
Right.
it. You're meeting but you have to really pay attention. You have to really
Mm,
focus and be so present while you're
mm.
making something, which
Interesting.
is fascinating because you're also watching it and you're like, this is melting, it's glass. And then what you see afterwards, like just everything that goes on psychologically while this is happening, it gives you a big high, and two, it's just fascinating.
Okay.
So
Well, maybe I have to move that to the
to the, to the right.
yeah.
Okay, drive, and I think I'm going to pronounce this wrong. It's a Bugatti,
Bugatti?
Bugatti Chiron, the
Bugatti.
Bugatti Chiron,
Okay.
French sport car.
Yes. Would love to do that.
We're
Yes.
going right. Okay, do needlework.
Like crocheting or anything like that?
So the needlework is you have a picture and you're kind of
Oh,
using
yeah.
the colors, the
Yep.
needlework.
Yeah, through the little the wood
Yep,
thing. Done it.
done it. Okay. Was that as a kid?
Yeah, well, no, actually, when I met my wife, I was trying to impress her, and so she was like doing some needlework, some crocheting, and so I was like, let me get into these things so I can like have something to hang out with her and talk to her about.
Oh, and then you got the wife and you quit. Is that how
That's
that?
right. It was like, all
Oh
right,
man, she got fooled.
exactly.
Obviously, there was a lot to still stick around for. Okay, Zydeco dancing.
I don't even know what that is.
So it's Cajun music.
Oh, okay,
Well, it didn't start in New Orleans. It started in the French Cajun
okay, yeah.
area, but it's very popular in New Orleans, and
I'm
it's
open to it. Music, dancing, I'm
you
open.
should
Let's
look
let's
it
try it
up.
out.
You would,
Yeah.
yeah, it's awesome. Okay, because you're a musician, I added this one. Have you ever donated music lessons?
Yeah, I have actually. Yeah, I've
Okay.
donated some guitar lessons, and people want vocal lessons, but I say, listen, I'm not a traditionally trained vocal person. I just had an innate ability that took me on an adventure, and so I can't really teach you how to sing.
That's why that's why I think that saying comes from, those who can't teach, because those who can don't know how to teach it.
Exactly. That's right. That is
It's
so
like,
right.
I just know how to do it. I don't know how to get you there.
Right.
Okay, attend a boot camp fitness class.
Yeah, done it.
Done that.
Yeah.
Since you're a foodie, eat
Yeah.
at a Michelin star restaurant.
Ooh, I have not done that, but would love to do that.
Would love to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
And the final one is play shuffleboard.
Oh yeah, love shuffleboard.
Love
Good time. Done
shuffleboard.
it. Yeah.
Do you remember your first time?
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember my first time. My in-laws live in Phoenix, and they have, they kind of live in an older community, and they have shuffleboard. So the kids love to go out there and play, and it's just, a good activity.
Yeah, it's one of those you're intro, you're in, you're introduced to it by older people. I think
Yes.
most, and
And then you
that's,
become the person who's introducing other people to
yeah, 'cause you're
shuffleboard.
like, who would have thought this is so fun to play?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so final question is, how have you been making the best out of the current COVID-19 pandemic situation?
Yeah, well, one is I've been trying to perceive what's actually happening and also seeing what's working and what's not working. I've been taking notes, things where I see, hey, this has been beneficial for my business that we do X, Y, and Z because it's allowed us to, be more mobile or, work from home and still produce high quality content. Um, Relationships. I found that, man, relationships really weather any type of storm. We've had some clients who've had to move on because, financial issues that arose and things because of COVID. But then we have some clients who've stuck on and stayed through because we had really great relationships and strong bonds with them. Um, and so, really, once again, is being present, not allowing media and all these other negative sources to come in and discourage you, but really making the best of every situation, being present in the moment, and not worrying about tomorrow. When I was first starting out, you know, um, so kind of to circle back a little bit on our story here is that I was doing the night hustle thing and working a day job. Well, one of these days, I was at a wedding and I met the CEO of this real estate tech company. And he found out that I was a technology trainer and a show host at Remax and doing all those other kind of things there. And he knew that I had this video production company. So he actually acquired my video production company, and I went to go be the director of creative media for this real estate tech startup. Well, I was there for about almost 2 years, and they had some huge funding not come in, and I got laid off the first week of January. And so I was like, crap, like, I've done all these things. I just got laid off. Like, what am I going to do? And so that's where I spun up Brand Viva. I said, all right, I'm tired of working for somebody else. I want to do my own thing. I'm going to go all in on, myself, and I'm going to just take a bet, and so I hit the ground running. I just started doing everything that came my way. I was doing, jobs for $500 or $1,000, and I was just taking everything, and I was just working, 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 and allowed me to kind of grow Brand Viva to where it is today. But there was times where there would be moments where I was like, I don't know how I'm going to pay my mortgage. I got 3 kids, a wife, and I would be worried, and I have stress and anxiety. And then 2 weeks would go by, and someone would call me and say, "Hey, we have $7,000 for this project. Could you guys do it?" And I'd say, "Oh, yeah, we could do it." And then I started to think, 2 weeks ago, if I knew in 2 weeks someone was going to call me and say, "Hey, we have this money for this project," I wouldn't have worried. I wouldn't have had all this fear and anxiety. And so, really, it started to teach me to be present in the moment, because I don't know what tomorrow brings. But what I can do is I can expect that things are going to work out. And so I think with all this COVID and everything going on and all this stuff happening, we look into the future like, oh, America's shut down, all these businesses are closing, and then you turn on the nightly news and it's like more cases are happening, and small businesses aren't going to recover, and then there's all this fear and worry and anxiety. But really, if we focus on the here and now, that I'm healthy currently, my family's healthy, the business is continuing to stay afloat and things are working out, then I can have peace in this moment and not worry how things are going to work out. I have 3 keys to success in business and life, and that's be present, have faith, and expect that things are going to work out. Expect the blessing, and so that's really what has kept me strong and kept me motivated during this time, even during this stressful time, is because our emotions and our feelings will respond to what we input, and so if we input fear and worry and doubt, then our emotions are going to be fearful, and we're going to be worried, and we're going to have all this doubt. But if we input hope, and we input the chance that things are going to like be okay and work out, then we'll kind of have more of a positive energy about us, and we'll be hopeful that we're going to get through this and it's all going to
Yeah.
work out.
It's important to exist in a realm of possibility where things are
Yeah.
possible, and it what you can do is what you can do today. But all through your conversation, everything that you said, save for me, ultimately our faith our is a big part of that, because we know what we have to do today, how we have to serve,
Hmm.
and what happens next in the outcome, that's not in our control. We don't have the
That's right.
power over that. So for me, when I found God and I found my faith, and I was able to let go of that, that made such a massive difference in being more at peace, being more present, and not
Yeah.
stressing out everything. Because once I turned my life over to Him, there have been tough times, but it always panned out.
Yeah.
It always panned out. So I have nothing but belief and trust that that's going to continue. There's no reason for me not to think that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mark, it was a pleasure having you on. Thank you for sharing your story and your wisdom and advice with us. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I had a good time talking with you.